Wild Badger reached out to me and offered me this 26cc 4-in-1 multi-tool in exchange for a video. Now, as with other times that I've done similar videos for companies, I have no problem calling a spade a spade. This is not a spade. It's a 4-in-1 multi-tool and a spade is not included. That's a joke. If this thing stinks, I'm going to tell you so. I feel like I've been fairly honest in these kinds of reviews. Now, in this 4-in-1 multi-tool, it comes with your string trimmer, a brush guard, a chainsaw, hedge trimmers, and this nifty shoulder strap. I honestly don't think I'm going to use this shoulder strap very much, but it's cool that it does come with it. Now, inside the box, it is 100% disassembled. Now, yes, the motor is attached to the top shaft, but everything else is disassembled and you've got to do a little bit of assembly. Attaching the 3 different shafts that come with this. Now it comes with the string trimmer shaft, chainsaw is on a separate shaft, and the hedge trimmers are its own shaft. Those all assemble and disassemble very easily with just a simple locking nut. Now putting the string trimmer or the brush guard on its shaft was actually very simple. It's literally one nut. Overall, less than 10 minutes to put everything together, so it's really cool that it's that easy to get stuff out of the box and get to working. And so I will say the plastics on this are quite cheap feeling. The brush guard, the hand grip, even the plastic that's covering the motor, those all feel quite cheap. But overall, the unit feels quite sturdy and stable in the hand. There's a good weight to it. And even though the foam that's on the hand guard feels like a cheap foam, it's actually quite comfortable to hold. So even though there are some cheap materials, I'm sure, inside this machine, inside this trimmer, overall, everything still feels really, really good. Now for this very first test, I wanted to use the brush guard because I wanted to give it a good, sturdy, strong test, because anyone could put the string trimmer on and just start whacking away at wispy grass. So I wanted to give it a good test, and I had this perfect area here in the backyard. So this is a good test to see how much power is in the Wild Badger. Now, being the fact that this is the first time I actually taken it out of the box, put fuel in it to see how it started. It actually started fairly easily. It recommends you do 7 pumps of the primer, obviously setting it to choke, pull it until it turns over that one time, set it to run, and then you just pull it till it goes, and it went actually right away. Maybe a total of 5 pulls at most to get to start that very first time. So I was actually very surprised that it started as quickly as it did. Now, as you can see here, I am cutting away with the brush cutter attachment, and at no point during this test did I feel like I was at a loss of power. It cut through everything really well. There's this thick sort of woody weed back here, probably maybe an inch in diameter, and it cut through it very well. Normally something like that you may want to use the chainsaw attachment, but even with the brush cutter, it cut right through it after just a couple of seconds. The rest of this obviously is just grassy weeds, but because they are so matted and netted together, I was a little bit concerned about tangling, but because there's enough power, the brush cutting blade had no problem just continuing to cut through everything, and I'm actually quite surprised. Now, I didn't have a fair test here because it was quite dark, so I really was struggling to see exactly where I had cut or I hadn't cut, because I also didn't rake everything up until I was done. But here we are the next morning, and you can see the amount of brush that it did cut. Now, there were some areas that I maybe should have cut a little bit better, but this is in a perfect state now where I can come back over it with my lawnmower and finish cleaning up this area. Whereas if I had just used a string trimmer, that would have been a lot tougher. What do I feel about it coming right out of the box? I think for the price that it is and everything it comes with, I think it's actually a really good deal and it works really well. Now, in the long run, is this going to be able to hold up to heavy use? I honestly don't know, because like I said, that's going to be a longer term test that you have to do. But I am going to do further videos here using the chainsaw and the hedge trimmer attachments to see how well those work. But first time, first use right out of the box, this tool is really, really good.